Evolutionism is rife with hoaxes to this very day, as you've seen.
All we've seen are misrepresented data from real scientists and creationist propaganda claims, claiming that the existence of Piltdown as a fraud and Archaeoraptor as a more recent hoax that fooled the scientific community when only the tabloid equivalent of scientific press even bothered with it, as evolutionism is rife with hoaxes, is laughable. It ignores the massive numbers of genuine evidence that exists for the theory of evolution.
In fact, the geologic column is imaginary.
Funny how we can go and see it for ourselves then, isn't it, Mr. 2 years of research?
So what Mr. Pendleton's trying to help you understand is that when you take the billions of years of imaginary time out of the evolutionist ideas, you're left with nothing.
And the only way that these two creationists, John Morris Pendleton and ExtantDodos, can do this is by blatantly lying, creating straw men of evolution, geology, plate tectonics and physics, misrepresenting scientific evidence, making baseless claims, appealing to ridicule and using red herrings, and disgusting insults with intense frequency. Actual evidence would be interesting, but unfortunately for these two nutjobs, the evidence supports real science.
Because science doesn't provide evidence of evolution. In fact, it provides evidence of creation.
This is another of a series of lies. These creationists just don't know when to stop lying for their beliefs. Frankly, it's disappointing that they feel the need to be dishonest when their fellow theists can accept observational reality and reconcile it with their belief systems without having to resort to the same childish, dishonest, insane tactics.
You say you're a college student, so I have a challenge for you. Ask any of your professors this.
Can I play too?
Can you provide me with evidence of any permanent change in morphology, homology, or body plan?
Permanent change? Evolution is not your retirement fund. Nothing is permanent. Everything changes. The creationist is making another straw man.
In the fossil record, or which is due to mutation.
That was a disappointment. The professor would accuse you of making a straw man of evolution, and rightly so.
I promise you this.
Creationist promises are empty and meaningless, as we're about to witness.
You'll get speculation and conjecture instead of scientific evidence.
No, actually, what you'll get is a remedial class on the basics of evolution, so that you don't ask such a stupid question in the future. The ExtantDodos are not stupid enough to make that mistake, unlike Evidence-Free.
You're learning, aren't you?
We're learning indeed. Just how dishonest, arrogant, delusional, paranoid, insane, narcissistic, and reprehensible these creationists are. That's what we're learning. They have no scientific lessons to teach, especially when they cannot even get the basics right in the first place.
Are they more unusual than the names from your chart? You know, I'm not going to even read these.
Certainly less strange than a lot of names used today.
What does this have to do with anything?
And less strange than ExtantDodo as well.
And even less strange than NephilimFree. Yes, I know, that was a dig. Still, so what? A little of the creationists' own medicine is well deserved.
Did you know, by the way, that the word dodo, the name of the bird, has become synonymous with dummy?
Mr. I'm not known for ad hominem attacks over here just couldn't resist it.
Let's summarize. Using conflicting accounts...
Let's move on from this since it's been repeated from before.
Years.
Unsourced comments are difficult to disprove.
Let's move on from this since it's been repeated from before.
Are edited from the end of this video. You're welcome. No new information was discussed. There were only more tedious examples of how man can duplicate natural formation quickly. But as mentioned, man's ingenuity does not change the rate of natural formation.
Let's be realistic about this.
Indeed, that would make for a pleasant and refreshing change.
What you really mean is no information that I like because it upsets my worldview and therefore I refuse to accept it.
Polonium halos have been refuted, by the way. And this creationist is projecting again.
Now, the examples that Mr. Pendleton provided are new in the area of evolution thinking, you see, because evolution is a 200-year-old philosophy started by a French amateur geologist and an Englishman who got pissed off at God and stopped preaching.
The rebellion from God argument is the favoured attack of the fundamentalist nut job. By the way, Charles Darwin never started any philosophy. He explored the diversity of life on this planet. The creationist, as I stated at the start of this series, favours the ad hominem attack as if it were a valid argument against evolution.
This information is new. It's less than 30 years old.
30 years is almost an eternity in scientific circles. This information, even if it were valid and not manipulative and deceitful propaganda that's used as an attempt to divert the real issue, would be incredibly old in scientific discovery terms.
And for you, it's very new, because you haven't researched anything regarding evolution theory to speak of.
The creationists' arrogance knows no limit. The ExtantDodos are university educated to bachelor's level. They are studying for a combined MD/PhD. They therefore know more about the unifying theory of biology than a creationist will ever know, which makes this creationist's claims even more laughable.
You watched a couple of evolutionist videos and you think you know everything about evolution, but you don't seem to have learned much because your mind is closed to scientific information which refutes your worldview and upsets it, makes you think, oh no, there might be a God.
Dr. Kenneth Miller is an evolutionary biologist and a devout practicing Christian himself, as is the YouTube user named Don Exodus 2. And the creationist is violating the philosophy of science. Science makes no comment on the supernatural.
There might be a creator, and I'm responsible to him. Well, you know what, so what? Tough luck, kid. Let me give you a basic recipe for evolution. You can take this home to Mama and ask her to cook it.
That was another ad hominem attack. And the creationist seems to conflate evolutionary biology with atheism. The two have nothing to do with each other.
Take one part fossil record that does not show any transitional change from one kind into another, no transitional forms living on the planet or in the fossil record. Take one part genetic mutation predominantly caused by the sun, which does not cause permanent morphological change, body plan change, or homological change. Now add to this recipe millions and millions of years and bake that in a secular school for 12 years. And the result is an evolution theory, and you have a young person who is deceived, does not believe in a creator, because it's been worked out of their brain with lies. Now, let your dish cool for a little while, pull the aluminum foil off of it, and behold the amateur evolutionist inside, who can't tell the difference between science and speculation, conjecture, and hoaxes, who then makes themselves look stupid on the internet by repeating such jargon.
Okay, that entire rant was laughable. Count the number of fallacies, appeals to ridicule and personal attacks made by this insane creationist, and you'll see just how crazy their position really is.
This concludes my generous efforts.
Arrogance is not knowledge.
To end your brainwashing.
Projection is not scientific evidence. It is creationists that rely on brainwashing to spread their hateful propaganda and lies.
There will be others.
No doubt. And we'll deal with these brush fires whenever they appear for as long as it takes to put them all out.
But before I go, let me inform you of something that you're probably not aware of, and that is that the fallacy of evolution is dying quickly.
And creationists have claimed that evolution is in crisis for the past 150 years. The evidence says otherwise, and the theory continues to gather evidential support.
Especially in the last 30 years, and very much so in the last 10. Secular teachers and college professors are tiring of being ridiculed by their students.
Indeed, they are. I'd be tired if I had a student constantly try to use fallacious arguments for their mythical book of fables when it flatly contradicts observational reality, and I would deal with the problem.
Tiring of being asked questions for which there is no logical, no scientific answer.
Yes, such as creationism, for which reality flatly contradicts their theory, even though they have never presented a model that real scientists can test.
Which provides evidence of evolution. There will be a period of time during the next 20 to 30 years where evolution will be taught alongside creationism, and shortly after that, evolutionism will be gone completely from all educational institutions in the entire world.
Those of us in the real world know otherwise. Creationism was taught for thousands of years before modern scientists found out through the evidence that this was all a load of rubbish. Science goes where the evidence is. That is not the creationist perspective.
That day is coming upon us very quickly.
This is why creationists avoid the peer review process, play the evil evolutionist conspiracy card, and instead try to win popular support through the religious popularity, the political and the legal systems. It is up to sane people across the world to ensure that these creationists do not get their way and plunge us into another dark age where people are killed for having the wrong belief or for trying to learn about the world just because that knowledge contradicts a 2,000 to 3,000 year old book of fables and myths.